Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's Energy Audit Thursday. When worthiness becomes a performance. Listen, your routine is your belief system. That is what we're talking about today on this Energy Audit Thursday, you guys. Our focus today is all about identity, self-talk, and the inner critic. Yeah, this is an important conversation. So I want to say good morning. It's Energy Audit Thursday, and we're discussing, listen, when worthiness becomes performance. Okay. um just because you're producing doesn't always mean that you're aligned. you know all too often we will wear busyness as a badge. I work with a lot of people that wear it as a badge, that and I'm not judging that. I just think that we need to be aware of that, because our worth is when we perform our worth by overgiving, by overdoing, and by overthinking. All right, that's how we wear this our worth as a badge, by over giving, overdoing, and overthinking. But in today's life lesson, we're going to take a pause. All right, we're just going to take a pause. Listen, if you want to be a performer, but know why you're performing. Because here's the thing, a lot of you are not lazy, right? You're just out of alignment. Your body is trying to speak, right? Something that your mind keeps overriding, which triggers this need to what? To do. Good morning, big brother, big little brother. He said, good morning, sister. Have a great day. You have a great day as well. All right. So this session is really about redefining your energy, reclaiming your voice, and remembering, right? Your routine is your belief system. All right. One of the things I'm doing in this season of my life is truly trying to update my routine, right? To support the person that I am today. Again, I want to say that this whole week has not been anything but insightful, hopefully transparent, right? And hopefully a call to really update you, right? Update you so you can start to update some things. Good morning. Good morning, Pep. Good morning, friend Gladys. All right. Um, okay, so what is your daily rhythm saying about your worth, right? It's okay. We just need to take a pause and say, okay, is my daily rhythm matching the person that I'm becoming? Is my daily rhythm, or is my habits a part of the person I was, right? And really just be honest about that, right? So join me as I talk about turning hustle into healing and performance into what? Presence. All right. I want you to comment below and tell me what's one thing that you're no longer performing for, okay? Or one thing that you're no longer performing for. Why am I having this session? Because I want to help you reveal. I want to reveal how everyday routines really expose internal narratives about worthiness. All right, and to really empower you to stop performing and to really start enabling, right, your truth. uh what does that look like? Again, for me, I always talk about the domesticated thing, because I mean it definitely was a barrier for me, this domesticated. And I'm not saying it in a harsh way, but when I grew up, I did hair. This is the easiest way I can put this. All right, so when I grew up, and many people who know me, I started doing hair at 13 years old. So I paid my brothers, right, to really do a lot of the stuff. So I never formed the habit of like most of my peers formed, to really just be doing cleaning and all of that. So when I became an adult, that was something that I didn't do, but I would perform that act. All right, I would perform it. So I would do it when absolutely necessary, right? When I knew people were coming over, when I knew that things had just gotten so bad, because I was so busy working, right? So my habits really displayed that this wasn't something that I cared about. So when I would go to perform it, like, it literally would be energy draining. So I had to shift. I hired people to come in. So I hired a maid. I actually hired my auntie at one time to come teach me how to keep a house, and how to fold my clothes after fold my clothes right out the dryer, right? How to what that looked like, because my mind hadn't mapped it. And let me tell you this, I judged myself so harshly, right, for not doing that, because I would go to my friends' houses and to my sister house, and like everything was in order and everything had a place. But then I had to really stop and say, who taught you that? Right? Where would you have learned how to do that when literally your whole day was, I went to school, I'm talking about high school, right? Went to school, got out of school, went straight to a shop, did hair all day, came home, went to sleep, right? That was my life. And then after I did that, I went to college, right? Went did hair, came home, went to sleep. So when would I have learned that? So this is again why we have to be compassionate, because when I stopped, I really judged myself harshly for that. But when I stopped and thought about it, it's like, listen, you just need help, right? You just need help with doing that. So again, this is really to reveal how your everyday routines really expose deeper internal narratives about your worthiness, and to empower you to stop performing and start embodying, your truth. And my truth was, that wasn't always something that I like to do. And I'll definitely I know how to cook. My family is a great cook. I know how to cook. I know how to do things, but I have to sometimes turn off. When am I performing? Am I doing this out of obligation, or I'm doing this because I want to? And eventually I tell you guys about this relationship I got into. I moved in with the individual and it became second nature for me because it was first nature for them, right? It was like first nature for them. They taught me how to do it. And now as this 46 in my 40s, right, I started to embody that. So I want you to think about, what is my habits telling me about me, right? What is my routine telling me about me? Health routines. This is another thing, right? We can say that we honor ourselves and we have worth, but like, what is your health routine telling you about you? Like, do you have a morning routine? Do you have, are you working out? Are you exercising, right? And not even exercising strenuously, like going to the gym, but are you getting up, doing like some stretches, bending over, right? So what is that saying about you, these routines that we have? And a lot of times, like I said, because of the pandemic, we can have a routine that's very off from the person that we desire to be, and that's okay. Today we're just going to bring awareness to that. All right, so our disclaimer for today: this session is not about fixing your morning routine again, or adding more to your to-do list. It's about really pausing long enough to notice, why do I move the way I move? All right. And what belief is really driving my pace? All right. When we can stay in constant motion, or when we stay in constant motion, we often miss what our spirit is really trying to whisper to us, right? Healing means honoring your body and your mind, healing means honoring what your body and your mind is trying to tell you. And a lot of us are not slowing down enough to really catch up. All right. We just moving so fast that we don't slow down enough to really catch ourselves up. And hopefully this conversation is going to help you slow down a little bit, right? So that you can catch up, right? So that you can create some routines that really match the person that you are and the person that you desire to be. And then if you need supports to do that, hopefully it's going to encourage you to step into that. Okay. I want to say again, good morning. Let's take our deep breath. Just breathing in new beginnings, right? New beginnings. We're ending this week for our theme. And this week we're talking about noticing our patterns, right? Noticing our patterns and stop numbing. All right, stop numbing. And a big part of noticing the pattern and stopping numbing is so important, because a lot of us are numb because we've let our patterns just ride the ship, right? To be the driver. And we're exhausted and we're misaligned and we are judging ourselves as lazy, as unmotivated, as stuck, right? And it's truly like, wait, just slow down, just take an assessment, just breathe, right? So as we breathe in this new beginnings, let's breathe out anything, right, that may block that. So just a cleansing breath, right? Feeling our feet on the floor, coming up our legs, feeling our butts in the seat if we're sitting down. If we're standing up, feeling our legs, and just bringing some joy, some compassion, and some love into our legs, right? Up our spine. Okay. Just feeling all the nerves and thanking these nerves, right? If there's some pain there, don't judge it, right? Just, that's that is your body signaling to you something. Just notice it though. We're not going to judge it. Our rib cage, right, coming around to our all of our organs, protecting our hearts, our intestines, our stomachs, right? And really thanking that. Again, this week we're popping our hearts, so just kind of a little pop, right? Allowing our heart to really just release, right? Anything that has been holding up our necks, feeling the weight off our shoulders, right? So kind of feeling that weight just kind of dissipate. All right, down our arms, activating our hands so we can get a little busy this weekend, right? I think it's gonna be nice out. So if you're a yard person, or just do some things with your hands, okay? Up your neck, your chin, okay? Your nose, your eyes, all right? Bringing some softness around your ears so we can hear things a little softly, a little more softer, okay? Top of our heads, right? And then just bringing some awareness, right, to the largest organ, our skin, right? And thanking it, okay? If we're feeling a little closed up on this morning, right, just kind of pushing ourselves out, feeling like we're expanding a little bit, if we're feeling a little closed off. And if we're feeling too big, like we're taking on too many problems, just kind of bringing that back in, like feeling yourself just come back to you. All right, good morning, good morning. Drop a word in chat. Let me know how you're doing this morning. Simply, I'm doing good. Okay, this morning I'm doing good. I'm, like I said, I'm grateful to have this conversation about unlocking your potential. And today, talking about noticing this week talking about noticing your patterns and how to stop numbing. And really today, talking about um, this idea of being busy, right? And really, what are our routines teaching us? All right. So my core question is, what am I avoiding, and how is it shaping my life? Okay. What am I avoiding, and how is it shaping my life? That was what this whole week has been about. All right. On Monday, we talked about the busyness and avoiding, right? So stories and triggers. We opened the week by calling what out how busyness can be masked, or can mask our buried pain. All right. So a lot of us are staying busy. Why? So that we can mask the pain, so we don't have to feel, right? I challenge you. We challenge that lie, that motion equals meaning, right? And ask ourselves, what are you distracting yourself from? All right. I work with a lot of people that don't even go home, right? That stay busy in the yard, that, go to their friend's house, right? Because they don't want to deal with whatever that emotion is. And then we have to sit there and we have to deal with that, and we have to unpack it. And guess what? Sometimes it's not as bad as they think it is. All right. So the breakthrough was busyness isn't always purpose, right? It's protection. Right. So this busyness, this busy mind, this productivity, this full schedule, right, is not something that's trying to work against you. Is trying to protect you from what? From feeling whatever that feeling is. But the thing about it, you guys, is that we don't need that protection anymore. All right. You don't need that protection anymore. You're an adult, and we really have to learn how to trust ourselves, that we have the capacity to deal with what the world has to bring us. All right. And so a lot of the things that the body is doing to protect us, we definitely need to be open and trusting that we were built to be able to deal this, that this feeling is not going to break me, right? And I know that the mind makes you feel like, if you feel that thing, you're gonna die. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's just not true. And so a big part of an adult is to break that belief. What's coming up in my spirit is like a kid. You know how a kid can be so scared of something, and like, man, this kid is so scared. Like the kid is like crying, like terrified, right? And then you have to step in and tell that kid, like, you're gonna be okay. Like, this is not gonna hurt you. Like, this is not going to do like the way you acting. And sometimes you can get like an attitude with the kid because you just over, right? You over exaggerate. That is what your mind does to you, though. That kid inside of you that once felt unsafe, that kid inside of you that experienced that trauma, that kid inside of you that that didn't get the safety that it needs. Guess what? It's having that same type of tantrum with you when you go to do something new. when you go to change your life. It's making it like this thing cannot happen. And that's happening in your nervous system, right? And so that nervous system then what triggers what? This inner critic, this inner talk that is convincing you not to do the thing, right, that you should be doing, or to keep you busy. And that's what we talked about on Monday. On Tuesday, we talked about overgiving as a form of self-abandonment, right? So not only am I, so again, we're talking about numbiness, we're talking about noticing your pattern. So I have a pattern of being over busy, right? Or avoiding. Okay. Tuesday, we talked about overgiving as a form of self abandonment. This was all about obstacles and opportunity costs, right? So we exposed this emotional toil of always being the strong one. All right. We looked at how chronic overgiving and performing can what form self neglect, right? And that is what a learned behavior, right? I'm going to overgive, right? And abandon myself again and again and again. And guess what? I'm not really conscious that I'm doing it, right? But what I realize is every time I extend myself, a piece of myself is lost, right? I'm either losing my rest, my voice, or my dream. And that's why I can't do that anymore. Like I did that before, right? As a protective measure. But now I need to reclaim my voice. I need to reclaim my rest in my dreams. And so I have to bring some balance into this. All right. All right. On Wednesday, we talked about the lies your habits tell you. Okay. So this is all about paradigms and patterns, right? We reframed our shameful habits like the strolling, the snacking, right? This is that numbing thing. To numb out, I stroll, I snack, and I stay busy, right? And these are all survival patterns. What? That kept me safe from what? From feeling. From feeling what? Rejected, from feeling the hurt, from feeling the pain, right? Okay. So gratitude became the shift that we took, right? So we gonna push in on that. So instead of strolling or whatever, we're gonna feel this emotion because I talked about these Chinese, right? The Chinese what is them handcuffs, right? When you pull them, they stick harder, right? And so we have to learn how to push into our emotion, to push into our feelings, right? So that we can release it, right? So we can release this thing that has held us captive. So when we turn inward, I mean, so gratitude became the shift, really thanking these old patterns, right? Pushing in on them, thanking them for protecting us, but then choosing new ones, right? New ones for where we are going, right? So where we're at and where we're going. So habits aren't always helpful, you guys, but they are honest. All right. So we can learn from them. So our habits aren't always helpful. They're honest though. And if I have a habit that's not working for me, that's an honest thing. It's telling me, right? That's not working for me. I can change it. And I think that's where we get stuck. Matter of fact, I know that's where we get stuck because we don't know how to change it. It's like I know something needs to change, but I don't really know what it is. Right. And that's where we go into discovery. We have the conversations because as you start to talk, you'll start realizing that a lot of the stuff that's inside of you, when you go to say it, it's like, yeah, that sounds totally different on the outside of me. As you go to talk, right, your inner person, your inner voice can start helping you narrate. But a lot of us ain't even talking. We ain't even having the conversations that we should be having. All right. And then today we're talking about when worthiness becomes a performance. All right. It's all about the identity and self talk, right? We're turning inward to really audit this self talk and tells us that our worth must be earned. And if it's anything that I want to break, is that your worth is not earned. It's given to you. It's a birthright, right? It's kind of like I told you that dollar. We can ball that dollar up. We can wet that dollar. That dollar can have let's use $100. That $100 can go through all type of poop, but it's not going to change the value of that $100 bill. That $100 bill is going to remain $100 bill. Okay. All right. So we have to know that no matter what we've been through, no matter how we've been stepped on, no matter what decisions that we made, no matter how dirty we may seem, right? No matter none of that changes your value. All right. And that value, just like that $100 bill, can it be exchanged for something? Your value can start to be an exchange, okay? An exchange of energy when you create the standard, when you start to create the boundaries. But the reason why you're not um, your value is not being reflected back to you is because you haven't created standards, right? Somebody says that, this water is worth $100. Okay. And given where this water at now, it may not be worth $100 to you if you got a refrigerator full of waters, right? You ain't finna pay $100 for this water because it's not worth it. All right. But if you was in the middle of a desert, right, and you was thirsty, you trying to strap up $100 to get this water because it's that valuable to you. Okay. And so we need to understand what our values are, what we value, right? Create those standards. And the people that value that same thing, that will exchange that energy with you, right? But know that your worth is your worth. It's not something that you earn in performing and doing it. And doing. So I started this talking about domesticated, and a big part of my worth was that. Okay, this is another transparent moment. So I felt like if I kept a house clean, if I cooked, right, if I learned how to do these domesticated skills, that I would be worthy as a woman, right? It would justify my femininity, right? It would show that I am, a good woman. And I realized, like, yeah, no, yeah. And I've met, as a relationship therapist, I've met a lot of women that cook, that clean, that, wash clothes, that take care of the kids, that had that same belief, that got cheated on, lied to, or whatever. And on the reverse, guys who did it, right? Guys who, well, if I was a good guy who paid the bills and all of that, then she would see that I'm worthy enough. No, right? Because we don't attach that to our worth. All right. We don't earn our worth. We come in knowing what our worth is. All right. All right. All right. So so our takeaway for this week is that you can't unlock your potential if you're numbing your pain, if you're denying your need, and if you're confusing over functioning with love. And so we have to unpack all of those. All right. So who is today's session for? Today's session is for you if you're feeling guilty for resting, if you're saying I'll rest when I earn it, or if you're running on autopilot and really wondering why you feel disconnected. All right, why you feel disconnected. Here's some core insights I want you to know. Your routine is a reflection of your beliefs. Right now, today, your routine is a reflection of your beliefs. If your schedule is packed with doing, but leaves no room for rest, leaves no room for reflection, and leaves no room for nourishment, it's likely saying, I only matter when I'm productive. There's likely a belief that says, I only matter when I'm productive. I had to start saying to myself, because I used to be, I believe this, or I think this, or I believe this, and I think this. And I had to start catching myself like, okay, is that a thought that I have, or is that really a belief that I have? And we need to understand what our beliefs are. Okay. What is it that you believe? It's very different than a thought, because my thoughts, I can respond, and yes, they could be a an extension of my belief. But some of us, our beliefs are not truly pressed upon until we're in situations where we have to decide or where we have to move, right? So we can say a lot of stuff, but then when we go to put it in action, like, I believe I can lift 100 pounds, right? I could say I believe that, when the reality of it is, I think I can lift 100 pounds. Because when you put 100 pounds in front of me, right, how am I going to respond to that? Am I going to make excuses, or am I going to really go try to lift it up? Okay. So a lot of times we're acting, or our lack of action is because of the thing that we believe. All right. Because of our belief. Number two, worthiness doesn't need proof. Okay. I talked about this, right? You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to earn peace, and you don't have to earn love. Right. But these conversations on social media is all about this, right? What do you bring to the table? Be my peace. These love conversations, but these are things that you don't have to earn, right? These are consequential of who you are, right? So you don't have to earn rest, peace, or love. When you believe that your worth is innate, okay, you begin to really structure your day to support your well-being, not perform for validation from other people, or even validation from this inner person in you, right? Because a big part of it is that when I go to lay down and my mind is like, you laying down again, don't you gotta do this, and then I get up. I don't have to validate that, right? I can put that in the passenger seat. You're not the driver. I'm going to get my rest because I know I need my rest. Okay. All right. And then fatigue is not failure, you guys. Sometimes fatigue, and a big part of fatigue is your body isn't. I want you to know that your body isn't betraying you, right? It's just begging you to listen to it. And a lot of times when we're fatigued, like chronically exhausted, it may be like your spirit or your soul really waving a flag saying, hey, I'm tired. I'm tired, right? Let's sit down. Let's do some stuff. Okay. So some real life patterns that I want you to notice is like skipping breakfast because there's too much to do. So you won't even take time to eat unless you're doing intermittent fasting, unless this is a part of your health routine where I don't eat until a certain time, right? But when you're just skipping a meal because you have too many other things to do, understanding that this break fast, this meal that you're finna break your fast with is probably the most essential decision that you're going to make as far as energy for your body, right? Then that's telling you, right, that your body is going to start to feel that. All right, your body is going to start to feel that. Okay, starting the day with emails and social media instead of with intention and grounding. I know. It's just easy to pick up the phone. It's just so easy to check your emails or see who called, right? Because sometimes the mind just go right to that. Soon as you open your eyes, you thinking, who text me? You thinking who posted something, right? That is your auto response, right? That's what you taught your mind to do because that's what you did. There was a time that you didn't have social media for the people who didn't have social media. And then what did you do then? Right. So at some point you trained your body to, when I get up, I'm going to just pop on social media. So now naturally your mind wants to what? Just open up social media, right? So know that if you train your mind to do that you can train your mind to do something different. You can train it to do something different. Okay. So waking up, checking emails and social media again, instead of just setting an intention, you can train your mind. Like, even if you open your social media, you like, you know what, let me put that down. Let me just breathe. Thank you, God. Let me feel my feet on the floor. Just 2 seconds, right? I'm just going to retrain my brain. When I go pick up that phone, I can kick in. That can be the thing that triggers me to say, oh, no, that's not what we're doing today. Put the phone down, right? Does that make sense? Put a heart in the chat. Okay. Another pattern is working through exhaustion and calling it being driven. Yeah, I know. This is another one because you got work, right? If you don't work, you don't eat, right? All of that stuff that really keeps you moving. And guess what? A lot of us are in our 40s, backaches, knees hurt, exhausted, for me, I dye my hair, right? Got gray hair everywhere, right? But a big part of that is in my 20s and my 30s, like I worked 18 hours. Like my body, like I didn't believe in rest. Like to me, it was like we need to work all night, where the amps at, where the monsters at. All right. And then my body started to respond. Like my hair started losing its pigment, right? And then I called it wisdom until I started getting those daily migraine headaches, right? And I couldn't get out the bed. Couldn't, right? And I've seen it happen to so many people. All right. So we need to stop working through exhaustion. And I know that the job is calling for a lot of this, but also know that there's a boundary that you can say no. And a big part of the reason why the job is requiring this for you is because you're in agreement with it. Okay. We can create boundaries. We can say no to some things because we can. All right. We can at least test it. Right. And some of us is not even testing what the boundaries is or how we can push back at our jobs because we're so fearful that we may lose the job, or we're so fearful that something could, we catastrophize. Okay. Which is a cognitive distortion, right? It's like all or nothing thinking. All right. So we won't even push back. And we need to start advocating for ourselves. All right. And then staying up late, even when you're tired, because guess what? Stillness feels uncomfortable. All right. So we just stay up late, even when we're tired. And a lot of us have issues with really rest, right? Really going to sleep because, laying down, trying to hear these voices in my head. It's frustrating. So let me cut this TV on. And I have to tell people, I know, I'm going to say this. A lot of people sleep with TV on. A lot of people. If you're one of those people, put a one in the chat. All right. But I just want you to know when you go to sleep, right, your brain is doing what it's supposed to do. So when you go to sleep, your brain is still on. So it's still listening to everything that you have on. So if you're a person that listen to like crime stories that, or you watch, when I was younger, my brother, he watched ESPN the whole night. It came on over and over. That's when I realized that ESPN was like, it was a show that just repeated itself over and over again. And because I didn't want to sleep by myself, I wanted to sleep, it was my brother. Like I would go in this room, but he was young and listened to, we was like, 16, 17 years old, right? And we would just listen. I could just remember ESPN playing over and over again. But I just want to challenge you to learn how to sleep, in silence, and you'll be safe. And then you do have to train your brain though that this is safe. Okay. This is safe. All right. So our quote today, listen, you're not lazy, you're just out of alignment. Your body is trying to speak where your mind keeps overriding, but your mind keeps overriding, which is a protective thing. So listen, yesterday we discussed how habits like scrolling and busyness aren't flaws, you guys, they're signals. But today we're going to expand that by looking at your daily routine as a reflection of your self-worth. All right. All right. So I want you to meet Alyssa, right? Every morning she wakes up, right? Feeling behind. How many of you guys feel that way, right? Put it two in the chat, right? You wake up and you feel like you behind. All right. Just imagine that. All right. If that's not you. So every morning she wakes up feeling behind. Even after journaling, meal prepping, she feels what? This anxiety. All right. When we look closer, it wasn't about her planning, you guys. It was about her programming. Okay. She was taught that worthiness was tied to her productivity. All right. Her healing actually started when she started to redefine her mornings, not as a performance, but as being present. Because here's the thing we got to realize life is on. It's always on, right? The birds are chirping, the grass is growing, the wind is blowing, the clouds are moving, right? The sun is shining somewhere, okay? The moon is setting or rising, right? So life is always on, okay? But there are periods in life where, if the sun is not shining, the flowers, they close up, right? The birds, they go to sleep, right? And this tells us that there's a time where we should rest, right? That we should rest so that we can get some restoration. But when you have a thought or a program in your mind that you have to be productive, right? No matter how many tasks you accomplish, no matter how much you do, you could have cut the grass, you could have planted a whole garden, you could have washed all the clothes in the house, you could have washed the walls and ran 2 business meetings and cooked the meal for your kids. And then your mind is still like, that's like 30 things, but it's like 30 more things that your mind is thinking that you didn't do. Right? That's a program. That is your belief system saying nothing I do is enough. No matter how much I do is enough. And that has to change. That has to change. All right? Because it's not in the doing, it's in your perception of what you do. All right. So when we work together, me and Alyssa, all right, guess what? What we broke down is that it was her belief. Because when we started to check off the stuff, I'm like, man, Alyssa, you're doing 20, 30 things, right? You're very productive. She like, yeah, but I still didn't get this done. So we have to move our list, shorten it. Okay, we're going to do 5 things today. Anything over this 5 is like great. And then we're going to feel that feeling of inadequacy. right? But we're going to train ourselves that I feel good because I completed the 5 things that I wanted to complete today, right? And I'm going to move these other 15 things to tomorrow or to the next day or to the next day, because guess what? Life is digestible. You eat, you get hungry again. You drink water, you get thirsty again. So that desire to want to do, it ain't going nowhere, right? You can keep feeding it and feeding and feeding, it's going to get hungry again. And that's what we call life. So we can feed life tomorrow, those other 15 things. But we're going to do this top 5 today, right? And then with the knowledge that on tomorrow, when I do my to-do list, the 15 things that I moved over, 15 more got added, but I'm only going to do 5, right? I'm only going to do 5 until I teach my nervous system that 5 is great, right? 5 is great. All right. So here's your mirror moment. All right. What does your current routine say about what you believe you deserve? Do you believe you deserve rest, or do you believe that you deserve to work your butt off? Right? It's the hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us, right? You got to know that a lot of our programming came from what? I mean, people who were enslaved, who their whole life they came over as laborers, right? Your grandmother came over as a laborer. Your grandfather came over as a laborer, right? So it was instilled in them that what? Performance, right, was their worth, because how they performed determined how much what master got paid. All right. So then guess what they did? They passed that down to you, that your performance is predicated on your worth. And so Dr. Sheila Little, if you're new here, I'm Dr. Sheila Little, right? It's now telling you like, no, that's a program. That your performance is no longer tied to your worth. And we're going to unbraid that. We're going to take that extension out. You know how, we get braids and you add an extension in. We're going to take that extension out. We're going to just we're going to leave you with your real hair, the truth. Okay. Right. Because master made grandma and granddaddy, a great grandma, great granddaddy, a great great grandma, great great granddaddy really think that, how much cotton they pulled in, or how much they pulled this mule, or how much work they did. Guess what? Determined their worth. And you don't need to do that. All right. You are worthy. You're valuable just as you are today. All right. And if you believe that, drop a heart in the chat. Okay. Feel that in your heart. All right. Receive that. With 2 or more together, that's what God can bless. So be in agreement with me on this morning that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and that you are worthy. All right. All right, so here's some things that you absolutely need to know. That self-awareness without self-compassion can lead to shame, not change. A lot of us are becoming self-aware because we have Google and we have ChatGPT and we got Instagram, right? So we're becoming very aware of our flaws, of the things that's happened to us, but we don't have self-compassion, and it's creating more shame and more judgment. All right. All right. So many people become aware of their patterns, but then they judge themselves for having them. All right. But real transformation really happens when we meet awareness with grace and curiosity, not criticism. All right. We're not getting information to criticize. Like I say, you cannot take new information and apply it to an old situation, you guys. It's just not going to happen. We take new information. We get curious about how can we apply this in our future? How can I break the pattern? Right. If I always went left and I found out that I always went left, always went left, always went left, and I found out that left was not the way to go, and I found out the way to go is right, the next time I'm going to try to go right. But with the knowledge that I've went left 100 times. So I may not even remember to go right until I went left the first time. I realized that I should have went right. And then, I probably go right, and then I may fall back and go left. Right. And then I may go right. And then I may fall back into left, because remember, left is the program, and I'm teaching myself how to go right. Okay. Right. So that's one thing. And then all the times that I went left is all the times I went left. I don't have to judge that. Right. I don't have to judge it. I can feel that and I can release it. All right. Listen, your body often speaks before your mind does. So fatigue, tension, and overeating and burnout, these are not character flaws, you guys. They're signals, right? So I want you to listen to your body as a compass for alignment or misalignment. You know, our bodies are very important, So even me with the weight thing, or even when I have my clients and they are dealing with headaches or something like that, or their body is doing something, I'm very curious about that, you know so I know that even a part of my weight, and I have a trainer, you guys know, I work out, I eat healthy, but I do feel like a part of my weight was my body saying, this is a heavy lift, getting up every morning, speaking, learning how to do this, showing up, not always being punctual, right? All of that stuff I have to synthesize. I have to feel that, you know, and it's a heavy lift. And then also, you guys, I found out I was intermittent fasting wrong, and my body was actually storing a lot of um, the fat. My brother was telling me, and then my trainer was telling me, but my mom was just telling me something different. And yep, I was trying to do what I wanted to do. And as a consequence, yeah. So now we're on a different plan for this intermittent fasting. But your body will talk to you, right? It is telling you. So when you're fatigued, tension, overeating, burnout, these are not character flaws, you guys. They're signals. All right. And let's listen to our bodies without judgment. All right. Being productive is not the same as being in purpose. Again, being productive is not the same thing as being in purpose. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a leader in your home, a head of the household, I really need you to hear me say this. All right, being productive is not the same as being on purpose. So sometimes, um, um, and I'm even gonna say being busy. A lot of times we can be doing busy stuff that we can delegate to our kids, that we can delegate to, we can hire that work in, because our time can be best used doing something else, being more purposeful with our time. Okay. But a lot of times we're being busy. Okay. We're doing a lot of busy work, and it's not purposeful. And so the needle is not moving in our homes or in our businesses or whatever, because we're not taking the most valuable asset that we have, which is our time, and using it right in a purposeful way to really change, to really maneuver, right? We're being stuck in doing a lot of busy work. All right. So again, being productive is not the same as being purposeful. Busyness is often disguised as fear, avoidance, and a need to prove your worth. But I want you to know that there's a difference between activity and aligned impact. And a lot of us are just actively doing a lot of stuff, but it's not having an impact. If you want to know what that looks like, this is why you seek help, right? Because a lot of us feel bad about delegating. Hiring in somebody to cook our food, or hiring in somebody to clean our houses, or hiring in a laundry service, or hiring in a lawn service if you're a man, because men keep their yards up. But if that's not the highest best use of your time, right, then the Bible even tell you, redeem back your time, pay for that, right? Pay for that, so you can be using your time to create wealth or something, or health in you. All right. Old identities die hard, but they're not your truth. Okay. So old identities do die hard, but they're not your truth. People often stay stuck because letting go of these old roles can feel like betrayal. All right. I work with people all the time who feel a heavy sense of guilt for choosing them. They feel a heavy sense of betrayal because they feel obligated to the people that they've been obligated to, right? And it really gets to them. All right. So they have identified as the strong one, as the helper, as the achiever. And they may not use those words, but they are the person that people lean on. And they know that. But they tired. And they don't want to be that person no more. Right? But the truth is, all identities die hard. Because when they get that call and somebody say, hey, TT, can I? Hey, sis, can I? Can you? Hey, bro, can that? Hey, dad. Hey, mom. Yes, 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 yes. And they have to feel this resentment or whatever, right? Because identities die hard. All right. So again, I need you to normalize that grief is a part of the process. We're going to grieve some of these identities, right? And freedom of evolving is the freedom you're looking for is beyond this role. All right. So we can let this role go. We can come back and catch it at another time. Let's catch it at your wise you. But right now, you responding from your wounded you. I ain't saying that you can't be the auntie that help out, the uncle that help out, the mom that help out, the dad that help out, the sister that help out, the mate that help out. You can be that. But let's learn how to do that from the wise part of you and not the wounded you. All right. So let's shut down the doors, right? Let's redo the house. Let's revamp everything inside of you, right? And then let's open it up again. You ever saw a store do that? Right? It shuts its doors, right? It revamps the layout, right? Hire some new teams, put some new things in. So now, and then it open back up. And when you go back in that store, what you used to could do, you can't do no more. But the clothes still there and the stuff is still there, right? So we need to shut down this wounded you and open up the wise you. All right. All right. And if you need help doing that, you can always reach out or join a project. All right. Listen, the inner critic gets louder the closer you get to change. So I need you to know that the more you watch these life lessons, the more you start to apply yourself, the more you start to change, the louder the noise gets. All right. All right. So this is a sign of growth. It's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. All right. So when the inner critic gets loud, it often means that you're breaking these generational patterns that once protected you. All right. You don't have to fix everything before you start healing, though. All right. I think that we feel like we have to fix everything. That's just not true. And I want you to know that taking these imperfect steps, the one step forward, the two steps back, the two steps forward, the one step back, the blunders and flumblers. I used to go right. I used to go right. I used to go right. Now I'm going left, but I found myself going right again. Am I messed up? I feel like I've just totally messed up everything. I was working out. I was doing real good, and then old boy called or old girl called and I slipped back. Okay, all of that is a part of it. All right. All of that is a part of it. Okay. All right. So you don't have to fix everything before you heal. And guess what? We're gonna take these imperfect steps before we get it right. All right. So clarity comes from action, not just reflection. So as you're acting, you're seeing the places that you need to that you need to strengthen, that you need to monitor, that you need to grow, that you need time with, right? So if I went left, 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 but I went left, 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 and I realized that I need to go right, and I'm going to say a relationship. So I'm talking to this guy and I'm going left, 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 left with this guy. Then I realize, you know what? I need to go right. Right. It's very easy for me to go right with this guy when he's being, an a-hole all the time. But then I notice when he nice, I'm left again. Like, what happened? I know I was supposed to go right. Right. So now that action though showed me that, okay, you need to probably put even more distance there, right? Because you're noticing that it's not him, it's how he shows up in these different places, right? So I'm just saying that clarity comes with action, right? And so the more you act these mistakes is actually information that you can use to really help transform your life, all right? So I want you to move even when it feels messy, all right? Move even when it feels messy. Self-betrayal often looks like people pleasing. You guys, listen, I want you to know that saying yes to everyone else is really like you saying no to yourself. All right. It's really you saying no to your own needs as a form of abandonment. And in really learning how to reclaim your yes and no is strategic, and it's like a divine strategy, right? It's like, how can I learn how to reclaim my yes and my no? All right. And that is a journey. Okay. You can honor your past without being ruled by it. You guys, I think that a lot of us feel like we got to cut off our past or we got to judge it. We can honor that space that got us here. I don't care what that space is. I don't care if you was a 304. I don't care if you was broke. I don't care if you was had everything and now you lost it. I don't care. Right. Whatever that space was, it was the stepping stone that got you here. If it was really, 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 really bad, right? It was bad enough to make you say something got to change. Okay. Let's just hold that. It was so bad that I had to change. Okay, that's where we can find some gratitude, right? And we can hold that space and we can honor it, right? But it don't have to rule me in my today moment. Now, guess what? Other people, your past may rule them. It may spark some insecurities in them. It may spark some judgment in them. And that's just a part of life. And that ain't gonna change because guess what? Other people past gonna spark something in you until you mature to a point where you don't see that anymore. And that's a mature thing. I was talking to my trainer yesterday, and we were talking about race. And my trainer happens to be in an interracial relationship or interracial marriage. And I asked him, I'm like, so did you just not see color? Did you just not see it? And he said, at some point you just don't see it, you know? And I was like, wow, like you matured to that point. So at some point it stopped being about him as his race and his wife as her race. And it really started to be about him as a male and her as a female and the attraction that they had. And in that moment, I recognized that, oh, maybe that's a maturity thing, right? Where we don't see some aspects. It's just about this exchange of energy. And I think that we can get to a point in that where I don't even see your past, right? Because I mature past that, I'm seeing who is in front of me right now, and I don't have to judge our past. So I think it's a maturity thing. And I think when we can mature into that for ourselves, right? And we can get that to other people. But then when people can't, or when people try to judge us, then we can have compassion for them because we can realize, oh, you just haven't matured to the point where you can see me for who I am today. And I don't have to judge you for that at all. I don't have to judge you for that. I can just understand that. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. Worthiness is not a goal to reach. Okay. It's a truth to reclaim. I talked about this earlier. Your worthiness is not a goal. It's not anything you're going to do in this world that's going to make you worthy or enough, right? This is a truth that you have to reclaim, and it has to be revealed to you and how you start to choose to believe. Okay. Worth is not based on how much you produce, how much you prove, or how much you perform. Okay. It's inherited and it's unchangeable. All right. So I want you to repeat this truth over and over and over again until you really rewire that for yourself. Okay. Know that inner safety must be cultivated before outer confidence can be sustained. All right. Listen, if your self-talk is unsafe, no matter the amount of outer success, no amount of outer success will feel stable. All right. So I want you to know that the safe space that we're looking for, right, is in you first. It's in how you talk to yourself. It's in how you accept yourself, because that's where freedom truly lies. All right. All right, drop out in the chat if that makes sense. Listen, your routines really reveal your beliefs about your worth, your rest, and your success. If you believe that you must earn love, prove your value, then your calendar will reflect that, your interactions will reflect that. And guess what? More than likely, you will have these transactional relationships that's not really transformational, right? So what that means is that you're around people that the energy is transactional. All right. Dollar for dollar, sometimes a quarter for a penny, right? And you feel that, and you're looking to be transformed. You're looking, in transformation is seeing what you have, right? It's actually taking in that, using it, consuming it, and then giving it back out as something different. It's like this catalyst thing that's happening between you. All right. It's like this exchange that's happening between this interaction. And that can be with people, places, and things. All right. So your job can be something that's transformational for you, right? Your relationships can be something that's transformational for you. Information can be too. Okay. So if you believe that you must earn love or prove your value, guess what? Again, your calendar will reflect that, or your interactions will reflect that. And we want to move to a point where we're having transformational relationships. Listen, burnout isn't a badge of honor, you guys. It's your soul calling for a new script. So imagine trusting yourself so deeply that you don't need to prove your worth, that you don't need to prove your worth, right? You start to embody it. And we see that with some people, right? That they just embody their worth. They know they worthy. All right. One of my clients realized that she was avoiding rest because she feared being seen as lazy. But once she rewrote that belief again, her energy started to shift, and so did her results, because now she was able to rest. All right. Research in behavioral psychology shows that routines are not just habits, you guys. They are rehearsals for your identity. All right. So changing your story is so important, because you're in your act. So change your story and your actions will follow. And this is so important that we learn to change our story. And if you want help changing your story, you really don't know how to do that, please reach out to me. I'm going to say, please reach out to me. I encourage you to invest in yourself and reach out to someone. And I can be one of those people, or a therapist or something like that. Right. But you got to want it. Right. And that's why I took the please away, because you got to want that. Okay. You got to want that. All right. So if you want to reclaim your energy, you have to release this performative idea. All right. All right. Some other things that I think is important for you to unlock your truth is knowing that numbing is a form of self-protection until it becomes self-sabotage, right? So whether you're strolling or snacking or overworking or staying busy, numbing once served as a purpose. Okay. But over time, guess what? It becomes a barrier to your emotional healing and to your clarity. All right. Like I said, you taught yourself to wake up and scroll. All right. And you probably did that during the pandemic or right before that, or you probably did that in a relationship, right? You going through a breakup, you don't really want to feel the breakup, or something happened and you created this type of behavior, all right, to numb you so you won't feel. Now though, your brain is like, oh, that's what we doing. And now it just does it, and it's not working for you. And the barrier to that is the barrier to emotional healing and clarity, and you wondering why you stuck. Okay. All right. Your patterns are not random. Okay. They're rooted in your past. Again, remember, we're patterned. We're not broken. We're patterned. All right. So your patterns aren't random. They're rooted in your past. So many of your daily behaviors, again, are tied to what? Your childhood experiences, social conditioning from today. All right. And trauma. And when I'm saying trauma, I'm saying the feeling of not being safe. Okay. All right. At some point, that imprinted you, whatever that was. So it could have been a car accident. It could have been, some type of violation, emotional, physical, mental. Right. It could be an expectation not being met. I remember I felt like I was traumatized. It was Christmas, honey, and it was a big old present under the tree, and it had my name on it. It had my name on it. It was a big, like, square box. And yeah, and every day I was so excited because I had the biggest gift under the tree. And I just didn't know what it could have been. It could have been a bike. And my mind just went to so many places about what this big box could have been underneath this tree. Okay. Christmas comes and I go to unwrap this box. Okay. It was a whiteboard. A whiteboard. It was like a strawberry shortcake whiteboard or something like that. But it was a whiteboard nonetheless with the marker. You're talking about a level of disappointment. So I feel like even today, when you wrap up a gift, like, I'm not even impressed by how big it is or how small it is from that experience. Because when I had the biggest gift under the tree, I really thought it was going to be the best gift under the tree. And it was not the best gift under the tree. My brothers, they unwrapped, they had, trucks and cars, and they was playing, and all I had was this whiteboard and a marker. So disappointed. I'm so disappointed. And I'm giving that example because I feel like we think trauma is sometimes these harsh things, right? But that shaped my reality and my expectation. Like, I no longer, like, I'm like, I ain't listen. I don't know what it is. Right? Okay. Okay, avoidance doesn't mean, okay, so again, your patterns aren't random, they're rooted in your past. Okay, until you identify the root, the pattern will repeat, even if the environment changes. All right, because many of these really beliefs are tied to these childhood experiences. All right, listen, avoidance doesn't mean peace, you guys. It delays pain. All right, avoidance doesn't mean peace, it just delays pain. So when you avoid emotions, when you avoid truths, when you avoid hard decisions, we don't really escape them, right? You still carry them. All right, so healing really requires you turning towards them and not away from them. Again, we're using those Chinese handcuffs. We're going to push in on those things. And if you need support, that's why we do family. That's why you have family therapists. That's why you have marriage and family therapists. That's why you have relationship coaches and things like that. Because sometimes pushing in, you do need the support, right? You do need the advocate. You do need that third party there, which is why I think the Bible even talks about, like, bringing an issue to bringing an issue to the person, and then, if they don't listen, right, bringing a witness in, right? Bringing this witness in to kind of help navigate that conversation, right? So I think it's important. All right. The inner critic isn't your voice, it's an inherited script. Again, I just think that many people mistake the inner critic for their own truth, but this is just not true, right? It is the voice of your parents or teachers, your church, your culture, social media, things like that. And if you don't recognizing it isn't you, recognizing that it isn't you is your first step into towards disempowering this inner critic, because you realize that this is not your voice. All right. Self-talk determines your self-worth. Again, language. All right. I think ET said it best. I would rather you read one page 1,000 times than read a thousand pages once. Right? Why? Because when you can learn the language, right, then that's so empowering. Listen, the words you say to yourself matter more than anything anybody else could say. All right. Every thought is either reinforcing your power or eroding your peace. Now, does that mean that what people say don't hurt you? No, it doesn't, because it does. I can't believe you said that. But the reality of it is that you can't say nothing about me that I ain't already said to myself. Now, I'm in disbelief that you would say that, right? And it does hurt me that you would feel that way about me. But the truth of the matter is that you can't say anything about me that I haven't heard myself say first. And I will even stretch, and you hear me stretch this gap and say, and probably the only reason that you can say it is because I've said it to me, that I've identified with it and on the inside of me, some way, shape, or form. I have deemed it, so you see it in my aura, my energy field, or it's a code about me that have aligned with that, which can give you the permission to say it to me. All right. Now, I do have a feeling about that. You hurt my feelings, right? Don't feel good. But the truth of the matter is, I want you to know that, self-talk determines your self-worth, and nobody can say something about you that you probably ain't already said about yourself. And your words are so powerful. Okay. So again, the words you say to yourself matter more than anything else. All right. All right. So we need to start to talk to ourselves differently, you know. Hey, friend. That's what you could say when you look in the mirror. Hey, friend. Hey, girl. I love you. You amazing. Look at you. Because then I also know that we used to watch Jimmy, who walked up the street, who talked to himself, and everybody said he was crazy. Now you telling me to look in the mirror and call myself friend and talk to me, and I don't want to seem crazy. But it's like, okay, but you already talking to you, right? So why not bring that to awareness? You already got this voice that's interpreting and telling you stuff and narrating your life. So why not just become a part of that? Why not activate it and just be present with that? All right. And when you see yourself and you brushing your teeth and you washing your face, you're like, hey, friend, how you doing? I love you, girl. Or I love you, guy. Or good, man, good. What up, bro? This, if you a guy, good job today, man. I love you as a father. Talk to yourself. Say some things to you that you want somebody to say to you. So now you can code that in you. And then guess what? Other people start saying it to you because now it's in your code. Okay. It's in your code. All right. Okay, so again, the way you treat yourself really teaches others how to treat you. Your inner voice is always judgmental. Okay, your inner voice is always going to be judgmental. Don't be surprised when your outer world starts to reflect that same criticism. All right, so if your inner voice is always judgmental, don't be surprised when the outer voice reflects that. And again, this is the hypocrisy, right? We can be so judgmental of ourselves. We can say stuff about ourselves, but how dare you say it to me? I can feel that way about me, but how dare you say it to me? And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's a little unfair, right? Maybe you need to change how you talk to yourself and how you judge yourself so that you can stop getting that reflection. Now, am I saying that give people permission to say cruel and harsh things to you? No, but I do feel like a lot of us are um over responding to some people's, you know, audacity for, we think like, oh, you got the audacity to say that to me. And we get into petty fights and we get breaking up, and, some harsh things is happening in our community because of this audaciousness, right? That we take on when somebody says something about us. And the truth of the matter is that, the way you treat yourself, teaches other people how to treat you. And your inner critic, if it's always judgmental, right, then you don't be surprised when the world meets you with that. Don't be surprised when another person comes in and say that thing to you, right? But we act surprised and then we end up in conflict. Let's heal that. Let's heal that. I guess that's the bottom line to that, right? Overfunctioning is a trauma response. Know this, right? It's not a personality trait. So consistent doing, consistent fixing, and performing for others can be a way to feel what? Safe, needed, worthy, right? It's not your truth, though, you guys. It is a survival mechanism, all right? It's not your truth. It is a survival mechanism. And your identity is not stagnant. It's sacred and evolving. So who you was can change, right? And we see this. But we just got to accept it. All right, we got to accept it. We see people evolve and change. Your identity is not stagnant. You know that you're not the 13-year-old anymore, or are you? Because you believe that your identity is, I'm sorry, static. All right. Right. But we know that it's not, right? We've been through relationships, right? We've seen our kids grow. Our kids are, they're not the 2 and 3-year-olds. They're 13-year-olds or the 23-year-olds, right? We've seen life shift people's identity and what they've been able to do. You've had broke moments, you've had rich moments, all right? You've had healed moments, you have hurt moments, right? Because your identity is not stagnant. In each one of those moments you've lived in them, you probably haven't been able to live in them fully, because maybe of some trauma or something like that. But I do want you to know your identity is not stagnant, right? It's sacred and evolving. So you don't have to be who you were yesterday. And I know that people are holding you to that. Letting go of old roles and labels creates room for your truest self to emerge. I don't know if this is true or not, but this was what came up in my spirit, so I'm using it as an example. I saw this thing on social media where it's like Kobe Bryant's Kobe Bryant's wife is pregnant. I don't know if it's true or not, because it's a lot of lies and stuff on. But it was saying how people was like so upset because she pregnant, and then so then they end up saying that like she was pregnant by his friend or something like that. But I'm like, if this woman's identity has changed, Kobe Bryant is passed away now, very, very hurtful, right? It's going to be some people who don't like that, but her identity has changed, right? She has shifted, and she probably happy with this person that she with, all right? But people are holding on to her still being Kobe Bryant's wife, right? As if she's not supposed to move on and find love wherever she gonna find love at. That is not for us to determine. And on a very local level, right? A very close level, some of us, our parents have divorced one another, but we still trying to say who our parents can date. We have left relationships, right? That has been over, but we still trying to say who that person can be with, who they can't be with. That person trying to say who we can be with. Like, come on. Identities evolve. We change. Our needs shift. All right. And if we're still in relationships, understanding that if you've been in a relationship for 5-10 years, you're not the same person that you was a year ago. 10 years ago. All right. Because your identity is not static, right? It's sacred and it's evolving. All right. Listen, discomfort is a sign of growth, not danger. All right. So when you stop numbing, okay, you feel more. All right. And that's not a bad thing. All right. But feeling is discomfort. It is uncomfortable, and feeling discomfort is how we heal. All right. So feeling is uncomfortable, but feeling that is how we heal. All right. And it changes, it can change our emotional rewiring. My grandmother, you guys pray for my grandma. She had a surgery, and they numbed her at first. So when by the time I called her, I'm like, hey granny, how you doing? And she like, oh, I can feel it now, the medication is wearing off, so I can feel the pain. Right. I want you to think about that about life. Okay. Like, we're doing things to numb us. Right. We've undergone some type of harsh, some type of hurt, some type of pain, and we've done something to medicate or numb that. Okay. And that could be being productive, that could be lying. Okay, we lie because we don't want to feel it. We become performers, so we overproduce, people pleasing or whatever. So I want you to think about when you start to heal, though, right? And some say, like, I want to make this scary. I don't really want to make this scary, but this is the truth, right? When you go to transform, it's kind of like that medication starts to wear off, right? So when you stop being overproductive and you stop saying yes to everybody else, that was the medication, okay? And that medication starts to wear off. And now you start to feel, okay? Now, guess what you're not feeling, though? What you not feeling, what my grandma is not feeling in that moment is that knife cutting her, right? Not that. It's not that bad, right? She don't feel the people inside of her actually taking that cancer out of her, the hands and all the machines, right? That's an excruciating pain. That's why they had to numb her for that. But she is feeling the what? The body healing, right? Because they put it back together, and now the body's like, okay, we got to attach the nerves, we got to, clot the blood, right? So she's feeling the body healing from that procedure. All right. And so that's all your body needs space to do. All right. Because the wound has already happened. The surgery, the infliction has already happened. But you need to make time for your body to heal from the experience, from the infliction, from the emotional affliction, from the mental infliction, right? You need to have time and feel that, right? And feel that so it doesn't numb too much. All right. So it doesn't numb too much. Because listen, when we stop numbing, you feel more, right? And I just want you to know that that's not a bad thing. Okay. That's not a bad thing. That makes sense. Put a heart in the chat for me. And then last but not least, healing doesn't happen in silence, you guys. It starts with self-truth. All right. So when you tell yourself the truth about what hurts, all right, what you want. Okay. When you tell yourself the truth about what hurts, about what you want, and about what you believe, okay, you actually start to activate your personal power. Yeah, you start to activate your personal power. So truth telling is your permission slip to really transformation. What I thought about is like the Care Bears. I don't know why I thought about the Care Bears when that's like activating your personal power. But if you watch the Care Bears, you understood that there was, each Care Bear had like a certain gift that they could activate. And I want you to know that your truth is similar to that, right? When you start to live in this truth, you get to activate this particular gift in you. And then that gift can shine. And you get enough truthful people in the room that's bearing their truth, right? Just like the Care Bears could like shoot all their lights into one spot. Then you have space for that to happen in your relationships, in your friendships, in our community. All right. It's not easy work, but it absolutely is required, especially for the change that we want to see in our generation and as we move forward. So truth telling is your permission slip, right? to transformation. Now, I do want you to know that truth telling is a learned skill. I heard a man say yesterday, you don't even have to teach a kid how to lie. And I thought, you don't have to teach a kid how to lie. A kid is going to lie because a kid is scared. And you don't have to even teach fear. It's like innately in a person, right? But what you do have to teach that kid is how to tell the truth. That no matter what they're feeling, and their innate need is to want to lie, you do get to tell them, though, the importance of telling the truth. Put a fire in the chat if you knew that. I mean, when he said it, I was like, you don't have to tell a kid. You don't have to teach a kid how to lie. You like see the kid that ate the donut, they got the powder on their face. You like, did you eat that donut? The kid like, no. Right? So it's something innate about the kid that knows that I can't tell the truth, even though it's all over my face, even though it's on my hands. This kid understands fear, right? Know that. So when you're being encouraged to tell the truth, or when I'm encouraging you to tell the truth, know that that's a learned behavior, because by default, we want to lie. By default, we want to lie. We want to lie because that is the safe thing for us. We don't want to get in trouble. We don't want to deal with the consequence. All right. Another thing he said was, you don't have to do anything to be weak. You naturally just gonna get weaker. You don't move, you're gonna naturally get weaker. But you do have to do stuff to be strong, to become strong. Right? But you don't have to do nothing to become weak. You just gonna get weaker. You sit down, you don't move your body. The body is naturally going to weaken itself. Right? But you do have to do something to be strong. That is a learned skill, right? Right. So this state of I don't know what that's called, digressing, right? Right. You don't have to do anything to do that. And we're fighting against that all the time, because guess what? The body by default wants to be weak, right? And so we have to consciously do stuff to make us strong. The mind and the body by default wants to lie. It wants to lie to you, and it wants to lie to everybody else, right? But we have to teach it that the truth is what's going to set us free. And then we have to do the work and learn how to tell our truth, all right? Because that is where our light shines, right? Because in the lie, we're hiding in our weakness, right? In our bodies being weak, we can't display the strength, right, that we need, all right, to really do this thing called life. And I ain't talking about like divine strength, because I know that there is something in the Bible that talks about, when we're weak, God is strong for us, but that's still a divinity in us, okay, that we can activate. And to activate that, I do think that there's a strength, there's a courage, there's a confidence for me to move out the way and allow that to happen. So that's more vulnerability. And I'm not talking about vulnerability. We're talking about weakness, like your body literally being weak, right? Inertia. The thing of an object can stay and not move unless something is moved up on it. Meaning, if I set this phone here, it's just gonna sit here and say and sit here and sit here until I pick it up and move it. Right? Very different in motivation. All right. Very different in energy. Okay. Right. So a lot of us is in this state of inertia, where either this project is going to be the thing that lifts you, or some of these words are going to be the thing that lifts you. But if something don't push you hard enough, or something don't happen to you, you're going to stay in this state of inertia. Okay. All right. I'm off of that. All right. So biblical wisdom on this morning. Principle verse, Romans 12:2. Again, do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. The practical tie-in for this is that, listen, this isn't just about spiritual, it's strategic, right? Renewing your mind means questioning the pace and the patterns you've inherited, okay? It's about choosing alignment over achievement. Again, I know we hearing this word alignment. Even when I was talking to my thought partner, he was like, alignment, you keep saying this word alignment. you know, and I think it is like this infused word, but I just see alignment as just putting the right pieces where they go, right? I'm trying to figure out this puzzle, this puzzle life. I got all the pieces. I know I got all the pieces because, like I was saying yesterday about the seed, the everything in the seed has everything it needs to be the apple tree. So I know that I got all the pieces that I need to be me. All right. Alignment is when I start to put these pieces together, are they fitting where they supposed to fit? Or I'm trying to make something fit that don't fit, or have I collected somebody else's piece that ain't my piece and I'm trying to make that fit in my picture and it ain't fitting. Right. So alignment to me is like that. Okay. It's like taking these pieces, giving them the pieces that don't belong to you, giving them to who they belong to, and then, putting your pieces together. All right. All right. So this verse isn't just about spirituality. Again, it's strategic. Really renewing your mind means questioning again your pace and your patterns that you inherited. This verse is a direct invitation to really pause, right, and reflect on the internal why, because the internal why behind your actions. All right. In the context of today's session, I want you to know that many people are performing their worth by rushing, by doing, and by overcommitting, not because they want to, not because you want to, okay, but because you've conformed to cultural expectations that busyness equals value. All right. So the world's pattern says prove yourself. Social media pattern says prove yourself, right? Prove your relationship. Post a status about you and your boyfriend. Post the status of about how much money you got, right? Uh, do the bag, had a bag that cost, whatever. Prove that you have money. Prove that you are worth this, right? Earn your rest and be everything to everyone. But the renewing of your mind on today, right, says, I don't have to hustle or hassle for my identity. Okay. I'm enough just as I am. All right. So when we talk about breaking patterns, all right, which is a big part of this week's theme. All right. We're really talking about allowing ourselves to think differently. All right. And in this case, it's stop acting from survival, which is a performative act, right? And start living in our truth, right? Which is alignment of the pieces that I have, right? that I'm putting together. All right. All right. So Psalms 23 and 2, that is our promise verse. I love the 23rd Psalms. My grandfather taught me this 23rd Psalms when I was like 5 years old, and I still remember it, right? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lay down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul, and yada, yada, yada. All right. So this one is Psalms 23 and 2. All right. He makes me lay down in green pastures, and he leads me beside the still waters. All right. Listen, rest is not a reward. It's a right. All right. It's a right. The Spirit invites us to restoration, not exhaustion. All right. So you don't have to earn your stillness. It's where your power refuels. All right. So he makes me lay down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. Listen, this verse is often quoted for comfort, right? But in this session, it becomes a powerful permission slip. All right, it's your permission slip. He makes me lay down, reminds us that rest is what? It's sacred. All right. All right. Stillness is what? It's spiritual. All right. And yeah, many of us fight it because we've learned that stopping and not doing is what? Laziness and failure. But here, God doesn't suggest rest, He leads us into it. All right. All right. He leads us to the rest. So this speaks to the God within us, like the spirit that really whispers when we're out of alignment, the inner knowing that really nudges us, right, to really pause and care for ourselves. All right. So instead of overriding your needs, this scripture invites you to return to these needs. All right. To return back to them. All right. So instead of seeing rest as a weakness, I want you to begin to see it as a way of alignment, all right, or a way that you can realign your identity with grace. So both of these scriptures work beautifully, not as this far away idea, but as this internal GPS, all right, or this internal GPS marker, right, that reminds us that you don't have to become worthy, all right. You just have to stop performing for it. You don't have to become worthy. You just have to stop performing for it. You don't have to chase validation, right? You can return, right, to peace. And guess what? Rest isn't laziness, it's spiritual restoration. All right. So in this session, we're not talking about people, we're not talking, or in this session, this is not teaching people how to do more. Guess what? It's showing you how to reclaim who you are without the hustle. All right. And that's what this whole week has been about. Okay. So I really want you to ask yourself, what permission are you still waiting for to rest and slow down? Again, this whole week about was truly about, listen, understanding your pattern. Okay, we're talking about unlocking our potential, this energy that we have in us that's ready to be ignited, that's ready to be moved, and you feel it, right? You feel that you feel stuck. So to feel stuck, that means that, hey, when somebody say I'm stuck, that means that to I'm trying to get to D and I'm stuck at B. I have a destination that I'm trying to get to, but I'm stuck here at B and I don't know how to get to D. All right. So a lot of people, when they say they stuck, that is the idea, right? That I'm trying to get somewhere. The clarity of that is that they sometimes don't even know that where they're trying to go. They just feel this stuckness, right? Or they have an idea that they're supposed to be somewhere, but they don't really know what that is. Um, but this whole idea of unlocking your potential is to really move that energy. All right. So last week we talked about understanding or uncovering what's holding you back. This week we're just talking about the noticing your patterns and really stop numbing, right? Giving ourselves permission to feel. Okay. So stop the strolling, stop the overperforming, and be still enough and get your rest. All right. And let whatever is going to come up for you. All right. Next week, we're talking about letting go of false narratives. I had to look at my chart. So letting go of the false narratives. Remember, this is we're doing stop it within Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So tomorrow, self-validation Friday. You will get a post in the group tomorrow, but I will not be coming on live. All right. But before I get off, let's put this into action. All right. I want you to audit your daily routines as a part of I want you to audit your daily routines. What part feels aligned and what part of it feels forced? I want you to choose one moment to replace performance with what presence, right? And start your day with stillness instead of scrolling. And then I want you to set a 3-minute timer today and do nothing. 3 minutes. Just set your and notice how that feels in your body. All right. If you need a journal prompt, what belief have I attached to productivity or being busy? Remember, my belief was if I keep the house clean, if I wash the dishes, if I cook and clean, then that means I'm a good woman. All right. That was my belief in my 20s. All right. I no longer believe that. Right. I'm a good woman. And because I'm a good woman, right, I choose to do certain things, but it ain't in the things that I'm doing that's making me a good woman. It's because I'm a good woman. That's that I start there. And then as a consequence of that, I do these things. All right. Uh, your intention or affirmation for today. I do not perform for my worth. I return to it. All right. And then our intention for today. Listen, today I honor my energy as sacred, not something to be spent proving my value. All right. And then for the next 24 hours, I want you to say no to a task that doesn't align with your energy. And then don't apologize for it. That's your challenge. Can you do that? All right. We all know that this is called challenge in charge. Okay. So I'm calling and I'm asking, what truth about your worth are you walking away with today? Challenge, what part of your routine needs to be changed to reflect your healing? And then a simple charge on this morning. Listen, go shape your life. All right, go shape your life. Good morning, Charles. All right. I will remember that. Oh, so if this session, right, resonated with you and you're walking away with some insight, right, drop a fire in the chat for me. Put something in the comments. You already know. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel at I Am Shaping Solutions so you can get any notifications. Make sure you join and ask a friend to join that Elevate in Life with Sheila Little Facebook group. Remember this: if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life, you can have it in your love of self, your interactions with others, your focus, and your energy. I want you to know I love you. I love you so much. I thank you for your continued support. I hope that these life lessons are creating the change that you want to see in helping you to become the change that you want to see in your world. All right. Again, I'll see you next week as we start talking about how to let go of these false narratives. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will see you Monday for that life lesson. All right. Till later. Till later. I got this little meat, this acid that I want to share.